right, so we are going to do an assignment called the Rulers That Rock Draft. You are forming the dream team of Mesopotamia. So the next slide in this slideshow is going to be the directions. I am giving you a Satori that's already filled out that's about the 4 leaders. So the link is right in the slideshow. So once that opens, there it is, Rulers That Rock. You will have access to this. Gilgamesh comes first because he lived first. Here's some information about Gilgamesh. As you can see, he's a descendant of Billy Bob. Then we have Sargon. There's information about him. There's a video here you can watch. We have Hammurabi, information about him. We have Ashurbanipal, information about him. You are going to use this Satori to help you get the information you need to complete your NFL draft for the Mesopotamia Dream Team.
Is this like fantasy football or like actual combine draft?
This isn't.
I'm gonna explain it.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am. Wilbur.
Is the guy in the picture right there, is he chained up like his hands are chained up, or is he just holding a rock?
He's holding a basket or something, it looks like.
I was like, a basket of dead.
Okay, so, no, that's not what I want. Where did it go? There it is. So, you're going to complete the roster for all 4 of these guys. So, the next slides in the slideshow contain your roster. So, for each guy, you're going to tell me his hometown. So, that's going to be the city he's from. You're going to tell me what is he most known for. You're going to come up with 1 positive character trait. So, this should be a 1-word situation. So, based on what you learned about him, how would you describe him in 1 word? And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. And then a fun fact about him. Okay? Just be wary when these are all text boxes here. When you're typing, if you don't see your typing come up, it's probably because your lettering is black on a black background. So you got to make sure you change it to white so we can see it. This bottom part you worry about at the end once you've filled out information on all 4 guys. Okay? All right. So you're going to do that for Gilgamesh, Sargon the First, Hammurabi, Ashurbanipal. Now, once you have a draft card filled out for every single one of them, then you're going to make your picks. You have to decide, out of the 4 guys, who would you rather have on your dodgeball team, and think about why.
I love that.
Who would you rather have help you with your homework?
All of that.
Who would you rather have as the principal of your school?
None of that.
Who would you rather have with you in an emergency?
You.
I'm going to wait quiet. I'd like to remind you I'm recording this for other people to see, so please keep your comments in check. Yes, Wilbur.
May I use the restroom?
Can you wait till I'm done with directions? Thank you. Unless you're going to puke, then go for it. You can only choose 1 ruler for each of the questions, and you may only use each ruler once. And this is where you're going to show me your picks. If you go back to the draft card, bless you. On the bottom here, this is where you're going to put an X if you want him to be on your dodgeball team. You put an X there. If Gilgamesh is your pick to help you with your homework, you put an X there. If Gilgamesh is your pick for a principal, you put an X there. Or if you would rather him be your emergency contact, you put an X here. It's a text box. Just click in it and put an X. But each guy, you should only have 1 X. He can only be one of your round picks. And every guy, like if you pick him to be on your dodgeball team, you can't pick anybody else for your dodgeball team. He's done. He's out of it. You can't use him again.
Wait, is it really
Then, after you fill out your picks, you're going to go back to the end slide, and you're going to click on this formative. And this is where you're going to explain your picks to me.
Oh, God.
So, I'm going to give you a little preview. I've never used formative with you guys yet, but I put you on a formative class through my Google Classroom roster, so you should all be in there. When you open formative, it's going to come up Rulers That Rock exit card. You'll have a different screen than me, but it should come up. And you're going to have 2. answer for me. Who'd you rather have on your dodgeball team? Gilgamesh, Sargon, Hammurabi, or Ashurbanipal? And then you have to explain why you picked him in a video response for me.
Did you say video?
Yup. You're going to click that. You're going to record your response to explain it to me. I'm going to be the only one watching it at this point, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But I am grading this, and when you do explain your pick to me, I want you to actually back it up with evidence. I don't want you to say something like, I picked Gilgamesh because I think his name is cool. No, tell me why he would be good for a dodgeball team. Well, he was slaying monsters, and he seemed pretty strong and powerful. He'd probably win a dodgeball game. So back it up with evidence that you read about. Capiche?
Kapag.
Kabushi wooshi.
You're going to do the same thing. Hold on. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to explain who'd you rather help with your homework. You're going to explain your pick. You're going to explain your pick for principal, who you'd rather have as principal, and who you'd rather have as your emergency contact. All right, so you're going to have 4 videos in all. Yes, Wilbur.
May I go to the restroom?
Sure. When you are done with this, you can go back to classroom and submit the assignment. But the whole slideshow has to be done and the Go formative. Okay? All right, and my peeps that are not here, you let me know if you have any questions. Okay? Before you guys get started, I want to show you an example of this as a finished product. So instead of doing Mesopotamia, I picked 4 U.S. presidents. I don't want to see your Chromebooks open right now. Close them. So if I were to do this and make a dream team of U.S. presidents, this is what it would look like. So you're going to do the same thing, except you're doing the Mesopotamian rulers. So my first pick, George Washington. He's from Pope's Creek, Virginia. He's known for being the father of our country, and he is a super successful war general. After I read about him, the character trait I picked for him was dedicated, because he dedicated his whole life to this country and forming our new country and getting our government set up after the Revolutionary War was won. Even during the war, he was really dedicated to winning. You know, so he was one of the reasons why we are the country we are today. And a lot of the stuff we are doing in government and the protocols that presidents have to follow were set by George Washington hundreds of years ago. So I picked the word dedicated for him. The research I used did not tell me he was dedicated. I came up with that word. So you guys are making an inference for this one. And then a fun fact I found about him was he's the only president to have a state named after him. Who knew?
Oh, yeah. Now that I think about it.
Thomas Jefferson. His hometown is Shadwell, Virginia. He's known for writing the Declaration of Independence as well as being our 3rd president. After I read about him, I read that he went to law school. He traveled to France a lot. He was bilingual. He did a lot of studying, a lot of writing. So I decided the word I was going to use to describe him would be intelligent. And my fun fact about him was that he's credited with introducing French fries to the United States.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Fun fact. Abe Lincoln, we saw on our announcements today.
We did.
How exciting.
I respect him.
He's from Hodgenville, Kentucky. He's known for not only being the 16th president, but he's known as the great emancipator. Wilbur already told us that he was one of the reasons why slavery ended in the United States. The positive character trait I picked for him after I read about him was honest. He's known as Honest Abe. I had to pick that. And my fun fact I found out about him was he's the tallest U.S. president.
That's interesting.
He was tall.
And then Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR. He's from Hyde Park, New York. He's known for bringing the United States out of the Great Depression. He had a lot of policies that helped our country get back on its feet. He also, even though he probably didn't want to be known for this, but he had polio, and a lot of images of him, especially like if you go to Washington, D.C., are of him in a wheelchair. And he overcame a lot in his life in order to be successful and to do what he did for our country, so I use the word courageous to describe him.
Really
And a fun fact about him is he took the king and queen of England on a picnic and served them hot dogs.
interesting.
So
Respect.
after I learned about these 4 guys, I made my draft picks. So the person I thought would be most appropriate for a dodgeball team, I picked my buddy George. And I put an X down here. Because I felt that since he won, he helped win the Revolutionary War. He was a really strong war general. He's strategic. Yeah, I figured he'd be really good on a dodgeball court.
How did he die?
As my homework helper, my pick was Thomas Jefferson, so I put an X under a homework helper. Since he did so much schooling and has a law degree and is bilingual, I figured he's really super smart. He's probably good to help me with my homework, so I picked him for that. Abe Lincoln, I picked him for my principal. Since he's so honest and fair and is concerned about equal rights, I figured he'd be a good principal because if he's dishing out punishments or trying to decide, what's fair in the school, he'd be a good guy to do that. And then for my emergency contact, I picked FDR because if I'm ever in the hospital and I need an advocate, this guy has a lot of experience in the medical world, and he's very smart. His policies were very successful, and he knows a lot about a lot of legal things. So I figured if I was ever in trouble or hurt, he'd be my emergency contact.
That's a good idea.
So I put an X under that for him. So notice I was able to justify to you why I picked every president that I did for whatever my pick was. I was able to justify that to you. You need to do the same thing for me when you're doing that Go Formative. I'm not going to give you credit for it unless you can back up your answer with something you learned about. Capiche? All right, so those are the examples. You're going to do the same thing, but with the Mesopotamian guys.